Hey, good morning. I had a little icon there I didn't see before. Anyhow, it's Wednesday. Today we're going to start heading towards some geometry concepts, but using some algebra skills. And so we're going to do Pythagorean Theorem today. Not sure why these things are popping up. So these things are just kind of acting funny here today. So let's see how it all works out. All right, so here's your warm-up. You're going to need a calculator and a ruler today. So if you don't have that, make sure you go pause it and go get one real quick. And do the warm-ups, and let's see how you did. Calculator does all the work, so we call that an integer, square of an integer. That's not true up there. It's a radical expression. That's not the right answer there. It's a radical expression. Anytime I take the square root of a number, it's a radical expression. That's how we get it. So square root of 625 is 25, 14. Now, a lot of calculators like mine, when I do square root of 216, I get 6 square root of 6, but that's not going to help me today. And so we want to round to the hundreds unless it says otherwise. And so you should have gotten a 14.70. You have to figure out how to do your little calculator to make that work. On my calculator, I Googled it. How do I make it into a decimal? And the short, fastest way is there's a little button right above the enter button that kind of looks like this. So maybe you have a calculator like mine. There's a button that looks like that, and that says, let's switch it to a decimal. Okay. And the next one, I just wanted to test you to see if you can round to the 10th place. And so you should have ended up with a 19.7. All right. Very important that we know how to round. We're getting better at it, but there's still a lot of students that are just kind of not thinking it's important and not focusing on where the 10th place is, where the hundredths is. All right, so today we're doing Pythagorean Theorem. Now, most of the time in 8th grade, they get to this like during the 4th quarter, towards the end of the year. And I know last year with COVID, a lot of people stopped doing math as soon as they said everybody has an A. So anyhow, we got to catch up. We should have done 9 more weeks of math. And so Pythagorean Theorem is this guy who's very into geometry, and he noticed that on right triangles, there's this ratio that works on all triangles, that if we know 2 of the legs, we call them, then we can find the third leg, always mathematically. And so this only works on right triangles, and there's a couple keywords that we need to know. I always look for this thing called the hypotenuse, and that's always the longest side of the triangle. That's really the only thing you need to know is the hypotenuse, because on these things that we call legs over here, it doesn't matter if you call this one A and this one B, or we transferred it and said this one's A and B. In the formula, it doesn't matter which is which. It is critical, though, that the hypotenuse is always the C over here all by itself. And so here's this formula that we need to memorize. It's not a hard one. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Just in alphabetical order, and they're all squared. Okay. Again, the only thing that you really need to focus on is where's my legs and where's my hypotenuse. As I look at this triangle, this tells me it's a right triangle. And so here's my hypotenuse. And so I'm going to say 2 squared. I want to put that in for my A. This is my B. So plus 2 squared again, that's my B, equals C squared. We need to find a C. So I know 2 squared is 4, plus 2 squared is 4. This is 8. Now, to get rid of the square root sign, we learned earlier this year that you take the square root of both sides. This cancels out with this, so you cross them off and say that's just a C. Now, to take the square root of a C, let me get my calculator rolling here. So 4 plus 4 is 8, so square root of 8, I'm getting 2 square root of 2, but I don't want the square root, I want the decimal. And we're going to round it to the hundredths. So I'm getting a 2.828, so it's going to be a 2.83, because next to the 2 there was another 8, so that bumps it up to a 3. Again, that's very critical that we know how to round. You're going to see we're going to do a lot more of that. Excuse me. I knew that was coming. All right. So here's two of the you try it. Pause your video. Do these guys, and then let's see how you did. All right. I had 9 squared and plus 12 squared equals c squared. So when I added them all up, I got 225 equals c squared. And then I took the square root, and it was a nice 15. So I like that number. B, there's my work. I got 4 and 25. Got a decimal here that I had to round, I believe. And so I got 5.39. Okay? Now this is where you're going to need a ruler. So we're going to plot these coordinates. So plot them. And normally there's a letter up here in geometry. Next year you'll have letters and plot them, or they'll give you line segments. But right now let's just plot these points. And then use your ruler to go ahead and draw those lines. Well, that's not a very good one there. Oh, even though they didn't give me the measurements, I can use these as a count. So here's my 2 legs. This is my hypotenuse right here. So I don't know it, so that's going to be my c squared. Now one of my legs is 1, 2, 3 units. So I have 3 squared. My other leg is 1, 2, 3, 4 units. So I got 9 plus 16 equals c squared. And then 9 plus 16 is 25. So now again, this is the critical part. Take the square root of both sides to get rid of c squared, and these 2's cancels out. And I'm getting 5 units. So the distance from here to here is 5 units long. See, we can't measure that and count it by units because it goes diagonally right through all those units. So it'd be a hard one to mathematically measure. It's nice that it's a whole number. You try it. Pause your video and then come on back. All right. Well, I accidentally didn't make an answer for this one, so I'm going to do it real quick. Hopefully you put a dot at -4, 0. -4, 5, and 0, 5. And so our triangle's kind of a little bit upside down here, but that's all right. They're going to start shifting triangles all over the place for us. Do my best to get that and do a triangle here. So you just sit back and watch while I do all my work here, because you already got it done, I hope. So I hope your triangle looked like that. And again, identify the hypotenuse. Here's my hypotenuse right here. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to find, is my c squared. 1, 2, 3, 4. One of my legs is 4 units long, and my other one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is 16 plus 25. And 16 plus 25 is 41, so I know this is going to be a fraction here, because 41 is not a perfect square. So square root of 41, I'm getting 6.40 when I'm done rounding. And it's measurements, so they're units, but they didn't tell us how many units each square is. But if they said, hey, like every unit on this problem is, 2 miles or a mile, then we would put miles there. Oh, I guess I did have it on there. All right. I just missed it, that's all. Interesting. All right, well, we got it anyhow. All right, so now we have a little bit of a problem, because now they're giving one of the legs is missing, but it's still not that hard. But this is where algebra skills come in. So I got 9 squared, because that's one of my legs, plus b squared, that's my other leg, equals 15 squared. All right, so do your squaring here. I know that's 81. 15 squared, I don't know what that is. We'll put 225. Let's get the b by itself. I'm getting b equals 12. Okay. Pause your video. Try it on these two. You're kind of turning some triangles around. Again, find that hypotenuse and make sure it's in the right place. All right. Let's see how you did. I got a equals 8, and I got b equals 16. Neither one of them had to be rounded, so that's kind of nice. All right, let's go do a word problem. Always encourage you to draw a picture. Mark and Sarah started walking at the same point. So I'm going to call a point here. Mark walks 50 feet to the north. North is up. While Sarah walks 75 to the east. East is to the right. And now they said, how far apart are they when they stop? We want to know that distance. So, nice easy one. 75 squared plus 50 squared equals c squared. We need to see the hypotenuse, because right here is my right angle. So you went one due north, the other one east, so it makes a perfect 90 degrees there. All right. Take the square root of 75. I'm getting 5625. Okay, so Mark and Sarah are 90.14 feet away from each other. Okay. All right. There's a helicopter that travels 10 miles due north, then 24 miles due east. So he started here, went this way 10 miles, and then he went 24 miles this way. And the helicopter flies in a straight line back home. We want to know how far he is. Do that problem real quick, and then let's see how you did. All right, let's see how you did. I got 26 miles. Nice even 26 miles from the starting point. Okay, now on today's practice sheet, there's all these where they drew the shape, but most of the time in algebra, they're just going to give us numbers like this. They'll give us the A and the B and the C without a picture, and then they want us to solve them. Okay, so show your work. No work, no credit. Quite a few of them today. And then today, when you get down to this part here, don't skip these guys, okay? We've done inequalities, systems of inequalities, and it's just interpreting this graph, okay? But we got a test coming up. If you were gone yesterday, they told us it's going to be a final that's the whole year of everything we've covered or supposed to cover this whole year, since we're not taking the easy merit tests. So our finals, all the concepts through the year. So again, we want to make sure that we know how to do all these problems, okay? All right. With that, I hope to see you tomorrow.